Hello and welcome to the September TCL Teen Bakealong. I am Marilyn, your Teen Librarian, and this month we are going to be making Snickerdoodles. Now September is when I sort of decide that fall has started. I feel like there's quite a few people who think that way too. It's sort of like the precursor to fall. Once August ends in September, no matter how hot it is outside, it's fall time. Of course, I might not necessarily be able to get all the fall flavors I want in certain places or whatever, but things like cinnamon and sugar, as you would find in a Snickerdoodle, is a good way to start off fall, which is why we're going to be making those cookies this month. So, let's tie on our aprons and get started. So these are all the tools and ingredients that you'll need. We've got our dry ingredients, which are all going to come to you just like this, all mixed together. We have our sugar and butter, which we're going to cream together first. Our mix of cinnamon and sugar, which is what we're going to roll the Snickerdoodles in, and we'll get that all stirred up more once we get to that. Our vanilla extract, the applesauce as the stand-in for the eggs, and our spatula for creaming together that butter and sugar, mixing everything together. So fairly simple, just a few ingredients, but they should turn out really pretty tasty. So once we get all of this gathered, let's head on over and start mixing. So the first thing we're going to do is cream together our butter and sugar, which you'll notice if you've done any of our other cookie recipes is always the first step. And what we want to do is mix it all together until it gets nice and fluffy, which is always sort of a strange descriptor, I always think, with something like butter, just because you see it and it's all, thick and heavy, because it's fat and all that. But I also try to think about that butter just really does come from cream, and you whip cream up to make it nice and fluffy, so why shouldn't you be able to do the same with butter? Now, if you have a hand or a stand mixer, you can definitely use that. It will be much easier and much faster. I just do it analog, as I like to call it, to show you that you can. You just have to make sure that your butter is nice and soft. You'll notice how it really didn't take very much strength for me at all to get this butter nice and flat and floppy, as it were. And that's because I'd had it sitting out for a little bit. When you get your butter, it should be nice and soft because it will be coming in a kit at room temp, which is fine. You can keep butter at room temp. That is a-okay. So we're going to get this all whipped together nice and fluffy, and then we will be back. Alright, you can see we've got our butter all whipped up nice and fluffy, so now we're going to add in our applesauce or eggs. If you have an egg, you can use one, obviously. The applesauce is an egg substitute, but if you have eggs and you want to use them, go for it. So we add in our eggs, we add in our vanilla, and now we mix these all together. And be careful, because this is where it can get kind of splashing up here. You might not have that problem as much if you do use an egg instead of the applesauce, but I know with the applesauce and egg, or butter, it can be a little hard to get them to meld together, as it were. There we go, but this is actually pretty nice and easy. That's good. There we go. I think since it's just one. Last month's our coconut pound cake was a little bit harder to get to mix together because we had two of the applesauce instead of just one, but I think just the one is a little bit easier to work with. There we go. Just slap it around. Alright, and once we've gotten that finished, scrape it off there. Okay. Now we can add in our dry ingredients. And you don't need to be too gentle with this one. You can just mix it together. Maybe do it carefully just so you don't do what I just did, which was flap some flour over the side. There we go. Very good. Okay. Now once it's all mixed together, because we want to roll this dough, and it's very, very soft and sticky, which is just kind of the way it's going to be, which is fine. It's extra soft because we have that applesauce instead of egg in there. So what we're going to do is lay it out kind of like this, so it's a little bit more spread in the bottom of the bowl, and refrigerate it for about 30 minutes. I'm going to start with 30 and see how cool it is, just because I want it to be a little less like floppy sticky so I can actually make it roll it a little more easily. So we'll start with 30 minutes and then we'll see how it handles. Alright, so I ended up doing it for about 45 or so minutes, just letting the dough sit in the fridge, and it's definitely much firmer, which I'm really pleased about. I think that'll make rolling it a little easier. So first thing we're going to do is mix our cinnamon and sugar, which yours will obviously come in a bag, so it'll all be nice and mixed, but if you want to mix it up a little bit more, you just want to make it so we don't have any of those large streaks of white sugar, because we want it to be fairly even. You might even be able to see the cinnamon powder coming up. That's actually kind of cool. There we go. Alright. So I've got the cinnamon and sugar ready, so now we're going to take a spoon of any size. I've got a somewhat small one. Just grab a spoonful of dough. There we go. And I'll roll it into a little ball, and then roll that ball in the cinnamon and sugar. There we go. And then, so we do it once, and then once I get all of the little balls of dough onto the cookie sheet, I'm going to roll them in it again, just to make sure we get a nice crust on top of them, since in the time it'll take to roll all of it, you'll see like the cinnamon and sugar will seep into the wet dough. So I'm going to get all these rolled, and then we will put them in the oven for about 8 minutes to start. It's about 8 to 11 minutes, but we always start with the lowest cooking time. So we will be back to put these in the oven in just a bit. Alright, it has been about 8 minutes. Ooh! Oh, and they smell really good, and also I'm really liking the look of this little crackly top we've got here. So I think they need a little bit more time. You can see they're still pretty soft. So I'm going to put them in for about maybe 3 more minutes. That'll take us to 11. We'll see where we're at. Alright, so I ended up doing these for about maybe like 13 minutes or so, which might have actually been too much. These were just very soft. What I was looking for was the firm outside with the soft inside. And you can see that they're very brown, which means they're definitely cooked, but they still feel very soft in some cases. They'll still be good, but I think I cooked them a tiny bit too long, but I think they'll still be tasty. So we're gonna let them sit for just a little bit to cool down, and then we will give them a taste. Alright, it's been about 6-ish minutes, so I'm giving our cookies a try. You can see that they got, but they're still soft in the middle, which is good, because they got very crispy on the outside, but that middle is still nice and firm. Okay, I kind of like that crusty outside. Normally with cookies, you really want it to be like just firm on the outside, just set, not too crunchy, and then very soft in the middle. So technically these are a tiny bit overbaked. You can tell by how dark the bottom is. But that doesn't make them taste any less good, because you still got that cinnamon sugar. Just a hint of that apple flavor from the applesauce. And I think the crunch is pretty nice, if I do say so myself. So I think that's going to do it. That's really good. I'll eat the rest of this in a second. So I think that's going to do it for our September TCL Teen Bakealong. I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoyed these with a nice cup of maybe apple cider, some hot chocolate, something like that. And then we will see you in the next one.